Today, I'll be taking on 8 of Johto's best trainers, the Elite Four, and the Champion using only custom shiny Pokemon.
What is going on with you? What are you talking about?
This is Soothing Silver, a ROM hack of Pokemon SoulSilver which introduces revamped boss battles, Alolan forms, and of course, custom shiny Pokemon. And guys, these shinies look gorgeous, so to show my appreciation for the creator's art, I'll be limiting myself to using only these Pokemon. And of course, we'll be using the hardcore Nuzlocke Ruleset. And you'll want to wait till the end of this video to see the craziest shiny in this hack. Of course as well, all links to where you can download this ROM hack are in the description below, so definitely go show it some support. But with all that out of the way, let's get hunting for some of the best shinies I've ever seen. Now, the starter choice is easy here since Totodile and Chikorita just aren't cool enough for a custom shiny, so we're left with hunting Cyndaquil, but I'm not really complaining at all. In about 4 hours we find ourselves this beautiful black Cyndaquil, and man, it already looks good now, but it gets 20 times better when it evolves. We name our Cyndaquil Crunchy, and with our new friend we are immediately sent on an errand run for Professor Elm, who is sick of being trolled, so now we have to suffer. Of course, this time it isn't a prank and we're given a very special egg. And when on the way to Elm we get a call that he's been robbed, and we run into the assailant straight away, who sends out his lame, non-shiny Totodile. And I mean, like, even if it was shiny, it still wouldn't be as cool as Crunchy. I mean, would you risk becoming the spitting image of your father and organization that you hate for a common crocodile? Like, come on, bro. Because me too, I would. Crocodiles are sick. We beat him and his pleb Croc with a barrage of tackles and return the egg safely to Elm. After a quick catching lesson, we are able to fully start our adventure, but before we get into it, I wanted to say I'm counting Alolan forms on the list of usable Pokemon because, well, these sprites are technically custom, and don't really worry about it too much as only 2 Pokemon don't have custom shinies of the Alolan forms we use. And hey, look at that, we found a shiny Alolan Diglett who we name Mars. We then find Rock the Alolan Geodude and head to Violet City, where we are stopped by Gold, who challenges us to a battle. But while tedious, it was pretty easy, so we are able to make it to Bellsprout Tower, where we can get our 4th encounter, Shiny Ghastly, who is normal for now, but trust me when I say Shiny Gengar in this game is perfection. With Coffee Crisp on the team, we are able to defeat the Elder and head straight to Faulkner. The glorified Birdwatcher leads with Murkrow, who gets murked, by Rock Spark. Faulkner then brings in Gligar, who is part ground type, so we pivot into Coffee Crisp to put it to sleep with a lucky hypnosis. We can then safely send out Crunchy, who thanks to a crit, takes out the mutant kite with 2 embers. This leaves his ace, who Crunchy quickly spits at, before switching out into Rock as Pidgeot heals with Roost. Rock then charges up, boosting his spark on the next turn, allowing us to obliterate the emo pigeon and earn us our first badge. It was good to see Faulkner actually use Johto birds for once though, so that's pretty cool. Hey, if you're enjoying the video so far, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, it really does help the channel. And even though the odds are boosted in this run to like 1 in 2,000, it still took me a while, so I'd really appreciate it. And sorry for the YouTube talk, let's get back into the video. With Faulkner defeated, we are given the special egg back and begin the most annoying shiny hunt of my life, as we have to hatch the Togepi over and over again until finally Kinder hatches out. And now this is a perfect example of how even the most subtle changes can make all the difference when it comes to a shiny form. It's not as visible here, but when Kinder fully evolves, you'll see how sweet this new shiny design is. We then run around a bit more until Kinder evolves into Togetic. And with all that out of the way, we head to Union Cave, where we find this beautiful black shiny Alolan Sandshrew, who we name Licorice. And man, you can never go wrong with black shinies. Definitely more exciting than shiny Sandshrew. Speaking of beautiful black shinies, Crunchy evolves into the stunning Quilava. I mean, come on, those blue flames, like, not to sound cringe here, but that's too lit. With a full team of 6, we are able to take down Team Rocket's Slowpoke operation and head straight to Bugsy. He leads with Scizor, who is able to tank an Ember and hit a hard wing attack. Thankfully though, it can't handle the heat of a second Ember and falls. This brings in Butterfree, who falls to 2 Embers, but not without paralyzing Crunchy with Stun Spore. To avoid getting crit by Beedrill, I send in Rock as he poisons us on the switch with a Poison Sting. We then take a decent hit from Twin Needle, but our Rock Throw one-shots the fragile Wasp, earning us our second badge. Now it's time for the first real rival battle. Kinder is able to one-shot Ghastly with Extra and Sensory, but not without it landing a curse. He then brings in his Croconaw, so Kinder makes it drowsy with a yawn, allowing us to safely bring in Rock, who takes out the Killer Croc with 2 sparks. We try to take out Zubat as well with Rock, but due to confusion we are forced to bring in Licorice, who does pathetic damage with Powder Snow, but once we switch to Metal Claw, Zubat falls quickly. This brings in Drought Charmander, so I bring in Crisp, who almost gets crisped, left on 4 HP after a burn. We then bring in Crunchy, who whittles down Charmander with multiple quick attacks and finally takes it out with a couple of embers. With nothing in our way, we head straight over to Whitney, who has a pretty scary team, but it's nothing our big brains can't handle. She leads with a Clefable, who Mars hits with a huge magnitude 8. But our luck doesn't favour us in the long run as she mimics Mars's magnitude and then heals on the next turn as we hit a soft magnitude 6. We then follow up with an even weaker magnitude 4, which hits about as hard as an autumn leaf falling into a flame, and to rub salt into the wound, Clefable uses our stolen move to hit a magnitude 9, one of the strongest magnitudes, instantly one-shotting Mars and claiming the first death. I then bring out Kinder, who deals like 2 damage with extra sensory as it shakes off a double slap. I then try to encore the Clefable into double slap so we can bring out Coffee Crisp to wall it, but it uses Metronome instead, essentially wasting our turn. Thankfully, it only rolls a weak Powder Snow as we crit Clefable for the KO. This brings in the Cow of Hell, who tries to use Kinder's loving nature against us with an Attract, but Kinder pulls through and lowers its attack with Charm. This allows us to bring in the defensive wall Licorice, who gets tickled by Stomp. We then proceed to trade cuts and stomps, and even with a crit and a few flinches, Licorice is able to come out on top, beating the utterly terrifying Cow. Last is Wigglytuff, who Rock is able to take out without taking any damage because all it did was spam Disable and Sing, which both either failed or missed. And with that, we've made her cry, which is all the satisfaction I need as I go to leave, but we are reminded that this is a badge challenge, so I tell her... And that little talk works out, putting our 3rd badge into our case. When traveling through Route 35, we are stopped by Team Rocket, and while these 2 grunts are super easy to deal with, Archer's level 45 Houndoom... Yeah, we lost the run. Well, kinda. I'm not counting this as a real wipe because in the docs it literally says the player shouldn't win this fight. And honestly, while this sucks from a Nuzlocke perspective because you're kind of forced to just ignore a wipe, it's a great story change because the only thing that stops us from losing all of our Pokemon to Team Rocket is 2 members of the Elite Four showing up. This again is such a simple change to the story, but makes Team Rocket feel like a real threat to the player and shows us that we just aren't up to the level of the Elite Four and, you know, gives them something to do. Essentially ending our power trip, and narratively this is pretty sick. After getting slaughtered, we are able to catch our next team member, Floss the Nidoran female. And after getting rid of Sudowoodo, Licorice evolves into Sandslash, and just look at those red spikes, so goddamn cool. Floss also evolves, but it's still the normal shiny form, so you know, not much to write home about. And with our upgraded team, we take on our rival in the Burnt Tower, and this battle was rough to say the least. We one-shot Ghastly, but then in comes Magnemite, so I bring in Floss, who gets paralyzed straight away. Thankfully though, we break through and 2 double kicks take out the Magnemite. But this brings in Charmander, who wouldn't be too threatening, but it has Dragon Rage, a move that always, without fail, does 40 damage. And no one on my team has over 80 HP, making this a 2-hit KO on all of my Pokemon. With Floss on 19 HP, we have to bring in Crisp, who is left on just 8 HP after a Dragon Rage. And our only out here without losing half of our team is for Crisp to hit a Hypnosis, and thank God we hit, putting the enraged Salamander to sleep. We are then able to bring in Rock, who, well, misses a Rock Throw. Terrifying. Thankfully, Charmander stays asleep and our next Rock Throw hits, taking out the Charmander. This one Pokemon could have put a lot of our team into the death box, honestly. Ruff then sends out Crocorow, so we bring in Licorice, who takes out the rest of his team with Crush Claws. Terrifying battle. We then awaken the legendary dogs, and these guys don't have custom shinies, which I do think isn't missed opportunity because roaming hunts are really cool, and it'd be nice to be rewarded with brand new shinies, though I understand why this didn't happen because some Pokemon just needed the changes a lot more, and the normal shinies are passable. Just a thought though. With a new level cap, we get to evolve a couple of Mons. First up is Crisp, and it's simply beautiful. I've never found Shiny Hunter as offensive and bland as Gengar thanks to like the blue hands and mouth, but this is definitely an upgrade. Rock also evolves into Alolan Graveler, which looks, fine. And now, even with these new evolutions, Morty is pretty scary in this game, having the normally terrifying Gengar, and now also an Alolan Marowak, an insanely strong physical attacker that can hit majority of our team for super effective. But well, we just gotta try. Morty leads with Mischievous, who instantly cuts its own HP in half with Curse, allowing us to take it out with Cut. This brings in the previously mentioned Marowak, and knowing a Flame Wheel is coming our way, I switch out into Rock, who takes the hit well, but then on the next turn gets burnt by Will-O-Wisp. We do land a crit Rock Throw thankfully, bringing Marowak down to yellow. We then though miss a Rock Throw on the next turn, which might have been able to kill, saving Rock's life, as sadly he does get hit by a Bonerang, killing our only good defensive Mon. Rock's death wasn't in vain though, as now a Shadow Punch from Crisp can take out the Marowak. Next is Mismagius, who surprisingly falls to a single Shadow Punch. And then last up is Gengar, so I bring in Kinder, who isn't affected by Shadow Ball. The Gengar then uses Perish Song, but it doesn't get the countdown since Kinder is able to take it out with 2 Extrant Sensories. My favourite part of this fight for sure was when he said it's morning time and he mortared all over us. We head over to Olivine City where we climb the lighthouse only to find out this poor Ampharos is sick, and with a name like Amphi, how could we not help? And hey, Crisp is evolving again, this time into the outstanding shiny Gengar. Like, how can you hate this? Leave a comment down below if you guys think Game Freak should update some of these shiny designs in future games. I think it would be sick personally, but I'm sure there are some crazy people who love shiny Gengar and Garchomp probably don't like the idea as much. With our new shiny Gengar, it's time to take on the 2007 spy comedy, Chuck. He leads with Primate, who starts the double team spam, but we hit our first Extrant Sensory, bringing it into the red. But Chuck just heals the next turn as we miss 3 Extrant Sensories in a row. It then hits us with a Rock Slide that does just under half HP, but flinches us, which is frustrating. Kinder is then left on 12 HP from a second Rock Slide, but we hit the next Extrant Sensory, bringing the ape down. Chuck then brings out his Ace Poliwrath, so we bring in Crisp. We then both miss Hypnosis twice, but on the third turn I hit, putting the Kung Fu Frog to sleep. Poliwrath then stays asleep as 3 Shadow Balls take it out. This brings in his new addition Heracross, who we will put to sleep again, and with 2 Shadow Balls we take it out, earning us our 5th badge. Before we head back to Olivine though, we have to take on the Suicune Stalker. His Hypno barely lives a Shadow Ball from Crisp, and then it puts us to sleep with Hypnosis. He then wastes a turn healing, allowing us to wake up and bring Hypno back into the red as it misses a Dream Eater, because well we aren't dreaming, so nothing to eat. As another Shadow Ball finishes off the next turn. This brings in his own Gengar, but it falls to Shadow Ball as well. Next is Vaporeon, so we try to put it to sleep, but we miss and it lowers our speed with Icy Wind. We hit the Hypnosis on the next turn though, and from here 3 Shadow Balls take it out without it waking up. Next is Electrode, who thankfully misses Thunder, because that could have been really freaking bad, as Shadow Ball takes it out in one shot. We head back to Olivine where we heal Amphi and relight the city. We then evolve Crunchy into my favourite shiny of the run, Typhlosion.
I gotta tell you, it was perfect.
Crunchy then shows off his new Sparkle by absolutely destroying Jasmine. I guess that's a healthcare payment, huh? And I don't know how to say this, but I'm quite possibly the worst YouTuber on the platform because I forgot to record from Jasmine all the way to Price. But nothing of note really happened in the Rocket Hideout anyway, so I guess, well, we'll just skip right into the 7th gym battle. Price leads with Jinx as we lead with Licorice, who tanks a Wake Up Slap pretty well thanks to our defense stat, and then retaliates with the Iron Head for the KO. This brings in Mamoswine, who threatens my team pretty hard, so I bring in Crisp on the Earthquake. Crisp then misses a Hypnosis as we're brought down to half HP with Ice Fang. and I know it's a pretty risky play, but it's our best chance of winning, so I have to press Hypnosis again. And thankfully we hit this time, allowing us to bring in Crunchy, and with enough Lava Plume spam and Sleeper Luck, we take out Mamoswine. This brings in Dewgong, so again we have to switch back out into Licorice, who rules Dewgong pretty hard thanks to it having to rely on the physical water move Aqua Tail. We bring it down pretty low with a couple of Iron Heads, but it then heals to full with Rest. We then get a crit, rendering the Rest useless as we're able to take it out with one last Iron Head. This leaves his own Sand Slash, who Crunchy easily takes care of with a 4x super effective Lava Plume, earning us our 7th badge. And now it's time to head back to Goldenrod City to deal with Team Rocket once and for all. But they won't let us in with just any outfit. Perfect. With our new drip, we can sneak in and take them down from the inside. God damn it. We now have to mow our way through several Rocket Grunts, but we do make it to Pretel. But this is a super easy battle, and then we're given the base bit key. But before we can go save the radio host, we get stopped by our rival. He wants to battle us, of course, so he leads with Golbat as we lead with Crunchy because I kind of forgot to prep for this fight. Our Lava Plume does good damage, but not enough to avoid getting hit by Confuse Ray. We then hit ourselves in Confusion, and then we hit ourselves again, but this time Air Cutter crits, leaving us on 32 HP. Thankfully we do snap out of Confusion next turn, taking out the Golbat. Next is Feraligatr, so I send in Crisp, who lands a Hypnosis, putting it to sleep. 2 Shadow Balls are then able to take it out. Next is his Weavile, so I have to switch into Licorice, who tanks 2 Feint Attacks and then one-shots it with Iron Head. Next is Haunter, who lands a Mean Look as Iron Head one-shots it as well. Last up, however, is Magneton, who is shiny, which is cool. But what isn't cool is that we can't switch because of Magnet Pull, so we are forced to spam Iron Head. We then get paralyzed and confused, and after chipping ourselves down, Magneton kills Licorice with 2 more Volt Switches, which is a tragic death. Honestly, I'm a little bit too used to sturdy Magneton and forgot that this ability even existed, so this definitely caught me by surprise. I was a bit tilted at this point, so I wasn't playing well, and I just stubbornly spammed Double Kick, and Boss is left on 1 HP as one last Double Kick takes out Magneton, finally putting this battle to an end. With only 4 Pokemon left, I head back to Route 36 where we catch Shiny Misdreavus and Shiny Stantler, whose recordings I did mess up, so you'll just have to take my word for it. With Arrow and MM on the team, we are able to save the radio tower host and head back to the tower to take on Proton. Proton leads with Golbat, who again lives our attack and confuses Crisp, causing him to hit himself on the next turn as Proton heals. We then break through and Shadow Ball is able to take it out. This brings in Slowking, who also lives a Shadow Ball. I mean, come on Chris, that one was super effective. And our speed gets lowered by an Icy Wind, but we still outspeed the next turn, allowing us to take it out with 1 more Shadow Ball. I then bring in Kinder for Wheezing, and once again it's a super frustrating battle as it spams Smokescreen, causing us to miss a bunch of attacks. We do land 1 extra Incensory, but with Kinder left on 9 HP, we have to switch out, so I bring in Floss, who finishes off Wheezing with multiple bites, ending this quite annoying battle. But trust me when I say the hacks do not end there. Next up is Ariana, and while Proton was annoying, Ariana would prove deadly. She leads with Arbok, who we take out with a combination of Hypnosis and Dream Eater, one-shotting the Cobra. Honchkrow flies in next, so we switch into Crunchy, who tanks a Night Slash on the switch. Crunchy then hits a hard Lava Plume, which ends up burning Honchkrow, lowering the damage of Night Slash, allowing Crunchy to take it out with a second Lava Plume on the next turn, but not without Crunchy getting pretty low. She then sends in the Muck of Hell and Nightmares. I bring in Arrow as Muck uses Minimize, and then I forget about it being Dark type as I waste a turn using Zen Headbutt, allowing it to set up a second Minimize. We then miss Stomp and miss again and again and again, and then it uses Sludge Bomb, which does decent damage, and well, we then miss again and again, but it uses Sludge Bomb again, but this time it crits, taking out Arrow. The poor guy didn't get to hit a single move this whole run, making this probably the saddest death so far. Not the most emotional, just sad. We then bring in Chris, but once again we miss a bunch of Shadow Balls, hitting about 2 out of 6. and then we get hit by Thief, leaving Crisp on 3 HP, forcing us to switch into Kinder. We then hit only 1 agent power before having to switch, but we left a wish on the field for Crunchy, allowing him to heal to above half HP. We then miss a lava plume and get smacked by a mud bomb, but thank the lords, we hit the second lava plume, ending this hell once and for all. Next is Blossom, who falls to a single flamethrower, and my god does it feel good to hit my moves. And then, finally, Vileplume, who also falls to a single flamethrower. We did win the battle, but definitely not the mental war. I was absolutely scarred after this battle. I was so scarred, in fact, I finally decided it was time to evolve Kinder and MM, but we were cut off from the plaza that allows us to buy the evolution stones. I would have brought them earlier, but I actually didn't realize this was the building where I could buy them from. So we have to go use Feeth on a bunch of Murkrows and Ghastlies, allowing us to find the Shiny Stone and the Dust Stone. With the Dust Stone, we evolve MM into the beautiful Miss Magius. Like, hello, how good does this look? I'm like drooling right now, it's so beautiful. Next up is the Shiny Stone on Kinder to get the subtle yet still extremely improved Shiny Togekiss. The brighter color on the egg shapes make all the difference, and I seriously love these shinies so much. And now it's time for our rematch against Archer. He leads with Magmortar as we lead with the newly evolved Kinder, who lands a hard Ancient Power, and thanks to Serene Grace we get the Omni Boost, giving all of our stats +1. And then our second Ancient Power takes it out and gives us yet another boost. I love this ability. This allows Kinder to one-shot Electrode with Shadow Ball, Houndoom with Ancient Power, Crobat with Ancient Power, and finally Weezing with X-Trend Sensory. And with that, we've gotten our revenge on Archer for the massacre of Route 35. Karen then shows up, but you know, it's too little too late. With Team Rocket out of the way, we are able to enter the plaza and grab some Evo Stones. I pick up the Dawnstone and the Moonstone, and then we head over to Bill to start probably one of the most common SoulSilver hunts, the Shiny Eevee reset. And after a while, we do find ourselves the Shiny Eevee, who we evolve straight away into the new Shiny Glaceon, another exceptional upgrade to the original. And using the Moonstone, we evolve Floss, and God bless they fixed Shiny Nidoqueen. We then run into Gold again in the Ice Tunnel, but it's a pretty easy battle, so we'll move on to Clair, the 8th and final gym leader. Clair leads a Gyarados who MM one-shots with Thunderbolt. She then sends out Aerodactyl, who outspeeds and brings MM to half HP with Rock Slide. But thanks to a Citrus Berry, we heal back to green, and then land a hard Thunderbolt, barely missing the KO. Claire then heals with a Hyper Potion as Thunderbolt misses the KO again. I bring in Floss, who resists the Rock Slide, and then Aerodactyl lands a pretty hard Dragon Claw, but we finish it off with an Ice Beam. Next is our ace Kindra, so we bring in Glaceon, who shakes off a Hydro Pump. We then land an absolutely deadly Ice Beam, but Dragon Pulse does bring us pretty low, but thankfully one more Ice Beam takes out her ace. Her last Pokemon Dragonair just gets one shot by Ice Beam, earning us the 8th badge. Well, you know, we're forced to do a quiz and for her to be guilt tripped, but we get the badge eventually, bringing us to the victory road. But before that, there is one more thing left to do. We head back to Elm and grab the Master Ball, and then back to Ecruteak City, where we have to prove ourselves by taking on the Kimono girls. Thankfully, Kinder is a bit of a monster, so it makes things pretty easy. The first Kimono uses Umbreon, who falls to 3 Air Slashes, and then an Eevee who falls to 1. Next is Espeon, who we used to set up Wish, healing to full HP while taking it out with 2 Air Slashes. This brings in Leafeon, but it falls to a single super effective Air Slash. Flareon then falls to 2 Ancient Powers, but does burn Kinder, putting him on a timer. Kinder's time to shine sadly ends as we have to face Jolteon, so I bring in Floss, who wools it pretty hard, and we miss an Earth Power, and then Jolteon switches into Glaceon that shakes it off the attack. I bring in Crunchy, who dodges a Blizzard and then takes it out with a Flamethrower. Jolteon comes back out as Crunchy lands a Flamethrower that ends up burning it as it trades back with a Thunderbolt. I then play it safe and bring in Floss, who is able to stall the Jolteon out with the Burn Damage, and finally we are left with Vaporeon. Kinder hits some decent chip with Air Slash, but we're at risk of a crit from Aurora Beam, so I bring in MM, who hits a Thunderbolt that leaves it on like 1 HP, but we're able to finish it off on the next turn with one more Thunderbolt. We are then told that a shadow has been seen heading towards Whirl Island, so we're off to investigate, and turns out it was Lugia, who we awaken with the Silver Bell and I guess sick dance moves, and this will be our final hunt of the run. So I start resetting and eventually we hit this super cool shiny Lugia. I don't know if I'm just edgy or too cool for school, but I've always loved Lugia's design. It's just so elegant and dark, I just can't help but love it. And now it's time for our last fight against Ruff the rival. He leads with Weavile, who Kinder promptly throws rocks at, gaining the Omni boost while taking little damage from Feint Attack. And thanks to the defense boost, we can safely set up Wish here, as we take it out with an Ancient Power on the next turn, while also getting all of our HP back. This brings in his Psycho Killer Magnezone, but a +1 Flamethrower is enough to one-shot it. Next is for Alligator, but we flinch with an Air Slash, allowing us to take it out with 2 more slashes after Ruff heals. Next is Golbat, but an Ancient Power takes it out, giving us a second Omni boost, and then in comes Alakazam, but it can't tank a +2 Air Slash and falls. Last is Haunter, but it suffers the same fate as its peers before it, and with that we've won a pretty easy battle. But will the Elite Four offer us more of a challenge? Let's find out. Will is the first member and he leads with Girafarig as we lead with Floss. Will sets up a light screen as we set up a layer of Toxic Spikes. Girafarig then attacks us, hitting a pretty hard Zen Headbutt, but Floss is able to set up a second layer of spikes. I send in Kinder, and with light screen set up, we are able to fish for Omni boost with Ancient Power because it'll be doing little damage. Our first Ancient Power gives us the boost as Zen Headbutt damage is really starting to add up. Our second Ancient Power though also gives us a boost, putting Kinder at +2 on all stats. The light screen does wear off, but to be safe we set up a Wish, and thankfully Girafarig doesn't opt to reapply the screen, and instead hits a weak Zen Headbutt. From here it's Kinder's time to shine. Air Slash one-shots Girafarig as our Wish comes true, bringing us back to basically full HP. Kinder then unfortunately misses an Air Slash, allowing Jinx to put us to sleep. I'm not too sure why I didn't go for Flamethrower. We then stay asleep for 4 turns. Thankfully though, Jinx isn't doing much damage thanks to our Omni boost and is slowly losing the battle thanks to Toxic Spikes. It works out super well as Will heals on the turn Kinder wakes up, allowing us to set up another Wish for free. I then for some reason go for Air Slash instead of Flamethrower again, which actually doesn't kill Jinx as it puts Kinder back to sleep. Thankfully, Kinder only sleeps for 2 turns this time, and on the 3rd turn we finish Jinx off with an Air Slash. And now it's time for the Pokemon that warranted the Toxic Spikes. With his access to Mirror Coat and Destiny Bond, I attempt to stall it out for a turn because the poison breaks its focus dash, and I think surely this is enough damage, but it lives on red HP. Thankfully Wobbuffet does flinch and a tick of poison finishes it off. That could have been really bad though. This brings in Slowbro, which Air Slash finally one-shots. I don't know why, it kind of seemed like the most bulky Pokemon, but hey, I won't complain. And then Xatu also can't tank an Air Slash, winning us a messy first battle. This brings us to Koga, and now it's Crunchy's time to shine as we one-shot Ariados with a Flamethrower, and then next is Weezing, who doesn't tank a Flamethrower too well and retaliates with a crit Sludge Bomb, proccing Crunchy's Citrus Berry. Weezing protects for some HP, but it isn't enough as one more Flamethrower takes it out. Vileplume is sent out, but it can't tank a Flamethrower either, and then Venomoth suffers the same fate, and now it's time for Crobat. I switch Crunchy out and bring in Floss as it uses Double Team. Twice. Causing Floss to miss Ice Beam. Twice. We hit the 3rd Ice Beam though, but it doesn't even bring it into the yellow, and then we do hit another one, but it just procs its berry, putting it back into green HP. We miss yet another Ice Beam, but we hit the next, bringing Crobat into the red. Floss is getting low here, so we switch into Glaceon as Koga heals Crobat to full HP. Glaceon then proceeds to miss 2 Ice Beams, but we do hit the 3rd, one-shotting the invasive bat and winning the battle. Next up is Bruno, normally seen as the easiest Elite Four member. But is that the case for Soothing Silver? Hitmontop leads the battle as we lead with Kinder. I try to fish for another Omni boost with Ancient Power, but we don't get the boost, and on the next turn, Bruno switches Hitmontop out for Hitmonchan, who gets one-shot by Air Slash. This brings in Electivire, who Kinder doesn't really want to fight, so I bring in Floss as Electivire sets up Light Screen. Electivire then hits a pretty hard Brick Break considering we resist it, as Earthquake leaves it in the red. Bruno wastes a full restore as Earthquake puts it right back where it started in the red. Floss tanks another Brick Break and then one more Earthquake takes Electivire out. Bruno then sends out Hitmontop and Floss outspeeds and lands an Earthquake as Hitmontop digs underground. This however just doubles Earthquake's power, so once underground we're able to take it out with one more Earthquake. The Kickmaster Hitmonlee tries to take out Floss, but we tank a high jump kick and return with yet another Earthquake, leaving Lee on half HP. We then bring in Gengar, who phases through the high jump kick, causing Hitmonlee to crash and take itself out. This leaves Bruno with his ace Machamp, and since I don't want to switch Kinder out into a Rock Slide, we put it to sleep with Hypnosis from Crisp. Machamp stays asleep for 3 turns, allowing us to hit a barrage of Shadow Balls, but it does wake up and then hits a hard Rock Slide. Bruno then heals with a full restore, but we just hit another Hypnosis. Unfortunately though, Machamp does wake up on the first turn, hitting another Rock Slide, but it's not enough to take Crisp out, and we're able to finish off the Steroid monster with one last Shadow Ball. Now, it's time to take on my most hated Elite Four member, Karen. We lead with Kinder as she leads with Umbreon. We hit an Ancient Power, but we don't get the boost as Umbreon confuses us. We then hit ourselves on the next turn as Umbreon sets up Double Team. We break through and hit a second Ancient Power, but again no boost, as Umbreon continues to set up Double Team. We miss again as it just continues to boost its invasion, and then we hit ourselves and now Umbreon is starting to attack, but it isn't doing too much damage. We hit another Ancient Power, but again no boost, but I can't really complain since we've been pretty lucky so far. We do hit our last Ancient Power and get the Omni Boost, however we do get confused again and hit ourselves the next turn, and now the damage is really starting to add up. We were able to set up and heal with Wish and finally take out Umbreon with Air Slash. This brings in Weavile, who falls to a single Flamethrower, and then this run's villain, Muck, but Air Slash flinches, stopping it from causing too much annoyance as the second one takes it out. +1 is then enough for Air Slash to one-shot Haunchkrow, so it falls quickly. Our last Pokemon, Houndoom, does live an Air Slash and hits a decently hard Flamethrower, but it isn't enough to stop Kinder's slaughter as one more Air Slash finishes it off, winning our final Elite Four battle. So now it's Lance time. Now Lance's lead is probably his spookiest Pokemon as he leads with Sandstream Tyranitar and we lead with Floss. Floss does hit an Earthquake, but it doesn't even bring Tyranitar below half HP, as Tyranitar's follow-up Earthquake brings Floss to 41 HP. I decide our best move here is just to sack Floss and get damage off with another Earthquake, as Tyranitar's Earthquake kills Floss. I bring in Glaceon as Lance heals Tyranitar with a full restore, and Glaceon's Ice Beam is looking like a 3-hit KO thanks to the special defense boost from Sandstorm. We do get super lucky though, as Glaceon's second Ice Beam actually freezes T-Tar, and then we're able to take it out with one last Ice Beam. Next is everyone's favourite non-dragon Charizard, so I bring in Kinder, who hits Charizard with an Ancient Power, but thanks to a Charty Berry, it lives the attack, allowing it to hit a pretty hard Air Slash. But the next Ancient Power finishes it off, and what you know, gives us the Omni Boost. Now I get super greedy here and try to set up Wish, as an Ice Fang from Gyarados brings Kinder to 10 HP. I decide to stay in since Kinder is so low we can't predict Gyarados' next move. So I stay in and pray Kinder can one-shot with Ancient Power. But it lives and takes us out with Waterfall, killing the MVP of the run and probably the most heartbreaking death on this channel. But Chris comes in and finishes Gyarados off with Thunderbolt. Exeggutor comes out next, so Chris puts it to sleep, allowing us to freely switch into Glaceon, who hits a 4-time super effective Ice Beam, cutting the tree down, even with the Resist Berry. Young Mega is next, but it can't tank an Ice Beam either, getting one shot. This leaves Dragonite, but Glaceon is straight up killer and one-shots the champion's ace, ending the battle and the run. Well, I hope you guys did enjoy that run. I know I did. These custom shinies were absolutely amazing. And if you guys want to see me travel through Kanto, where there's still a good array of custom shinies left to find, then make sure to hit that like button and comment down below, because the better this video does, the more likely I am to go take on Red. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. You guys are awesome. And thank you for 3,000 subscribers. That's insane. But anyway guys, stay safe as always and see you on the next run. But if you want more content, up on the screen. See you guys next time.